that to toxic friendships, then I think the Western way to deal with it is to just cut off that friendship. I don't know if that's the same Islamically, because I know with family we are supposed to reconcile and, you know, shouldn't end it no matter what. But can we do that with friends? Can we cut it off if we realize this is too much, or, you know, this is really going against my values, for example?
So according to my reading, Silat al-Rahim only applies to relations of the womb or family relations. Friendships, I think Imam alayhi salam has a wonderful hadith where he says that when you decide to cut ties with a brother, as in a friend, not an actual sibling, with a friend, leave enough room for him so that he can come back if he so wishes. And I think that's a beautiful way of describing that if you are going to end a friendship, do it with grace. Do it leaving enough room that should you form the friendship again or should you reconnect, it's on a good note. There's enough room for them if they want to come back.
Yeah.
But equally, Imam alayhi salam says, do not chase the one that avoids you. So there's a balance. There should be a balance between your self-respect, your self-esteem, and the person who you want to be friends with, and that relationship. So I think if you are going to cut off ties, you can do it gracefully. You can do it graciously. And if someone's a well-balanced individual, they'll be understanding. I mean, if they are a well-balanced individual, you probably are not cutting off ties with them. So, you know, that makes things a bit more complicated or sticky, as you would say. But yeah, you know, it technically is allowed. But there's also so much emphasis on reconciling two friends, you know. And there's a lot of thawab involved. Actually, it's one of the occasions where your lying is permissible to reconcile two disputing parties, like two disputing people, to bring peace amongst them. And that shows the gravity of social cohesion in Islam and the importance of maintaining good relationships with everyone. Ultimately, I think it comes down to, nowadays, there is so much talk about self-preservation, self-care, hashtag self-love, madishunu, look after yourself, do this. And like you were saying before, it's become so individualistic. But ultimately, like Maya Angelou says, people don't remember what you say to them, they remember how you make them feel. And Maulana Islam says, you know, treat people in a way that while you're alive, they crave your company. After you pass, they weep over you. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, treat others the way you wish to be treated. So it's ultimately, we should be thinking about ourselves, but not in this realm, in the hereafter. You know, what's the greater good for our soul? And that is to treat everyone with love and kindness and grace. Despite what the other person might be doing, our responsibility, we are going to be answerable for our own behavior and our own reactions. Yes, if someone is harming you emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually, whatever form the harm is taking, then Islam says stand against injustice, even if it's against your family members, your nearest of kin, your friends, yourself. Be firm, custodians of justice. That's in the Quran. So if there's an injustice happening, step away, stand against it. But not everything we perceive as injustice is actually injustice. You know? And I think that if we become so self-absorbed that it's just me, we're going to lose sight of the bigger goal, which is about living a fulfilling, satisfying, you know, enriched life in this life and hopefully for all eternity. Also, something I mentioned in the majlis, which came to mind, and I looked at you, I think, when I said this bit, was, you know, in the Quran, it mentions that the believers or the successful ones in heaven are going to be with their friends or their companions.
You did say that.
I did say that.
Can you see yourself with the friends you have now?
Exactly. And a good way to see whether or not you actually value a friendship or that is a friendship you want to keep is imagine being on a couch, wearing silk, having whatever, you know, the date palms and everything's dropping down to you. Are you going to want to be sitting across that friend? for all eternity. Which can't say right now.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
But that's a really good barometer. Like, would you want to be up there with them?
Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's say that you've found a friend that fits all the qualities that we've mentioned. What can that do for your self-development, or why is friendship so important to our self-development?
So medically, of course, medically social support is really essential to well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being. And often if someone goes through a bereavement or a major trauma in their life, or is suffering from mental health, we ask about social support and what help they have in place and how supported they feel, in particular after someone has a baby, for example. You know, what kind of support do you have in place for yourself, or if someone's a carer. So it's really important for our well-being. In terms of personal development, you know, a lot of us think that, or we can agree that peer pressure or that peer influence we've been talking about can be instrumental in the way we view the world and what the life choices we make, because ultimately the people you surround yourselves with are who you become. And even Imam Islam says that you're known by the company you keep. However, just to look at it from another angle, you know, they say some people are in your life for a reason, some people are in your life for a season, and some people are there forever. So you're those heaven friends, those Jannah, paradise friends, right? They're the forever ones. But other people are in your life for a season. And, you know, some friendships you outgrow, some friendships, they outgrow you. Sometimes it's just distance, they move away, or you lose contact. It doesn't mean that there was something wrong with the friendship, but you grew enough in the time you had that friendship. And it was seasonal. You know, like the leaves on the tree are seasonal. That friendship was seasonal, but it helped you develop in a certain way, or it served a purpose in that moment in time, and that's okay. Some people are there for a reason. So sometimes you've got bad friendships, or people you are just can't stand, or they're toxic. They're there for a reason. It might not be, they're not there to be your best friend, for that, to be that shoulder to cry on, to be your support in a hard time, but they can teach you about yourself, directly or indirectly. Some of our friends who we don't get on with sometimes, we don't get on with them because we don't want to hear what they're saying. And what they're saying is they're holding a mirror up to us and showing us, well, I didn't like that you behaved that way, or you crossed a boundary of mine, or I thought your behavior was inappropriate, don't do that again. And we're like, oh my God, this person's so toxic. Like, oh my God, I don't need to hear this. I don't want to know this. But actually, if we can be honest with ourselves and think, is there any truth to what they're saying? If I am becoming so emotional and I'm getting so reactive about this, they must have hit a nerve somewhere. Therefore, back to the journal.
I must be the problem.
Like what is it in me that is reacting so vigorously to what they're saying? You know? So sometimes people can help our development even not wanting to. Indirectly, because it makes us grow as a person. And you can't grow in the same environment that you've always been in, because eventually, you know, like if you keep a plant in the same soil forever, you're going to deplete the nutrients in the soil, aren't you? You need to keep adding fertilizer, water to the soil, that sort of thing.
How do trees work then? They're in the same environment and they grow. No?
True, but trees are very well developed, their roots are well established. So even if the local soil is depleted, the roots reach far beyond, don't they? Whereas if you've got a seed that's germinating, it's got one little root coming out, and that soil runs out. But so I think that friendships can cause a lot of personal development, coming back to your question. Also, if you both have a growth mindset, you're going to encourage yourself to grow. And it's also about the quality of your conversations and your interactions. If you spend the entire time at a meetup talking about other people and gossiping or backbiting, or, you know, just discussing problems with no end, you're not growing from that, they're not growing from that. Whereas if you discuss new ideas or things that you've both read that week or you've come across or things that you've thought about or your ambitions for the future or, you know, your philosophical ideas or political ideas or spiritual ideas or, you know, like a new recipe you found or a new fitness regime, whatever it might be, then you are contributing to the growth of the other person and your own growth, and you've got a partner in that. So, you know, often when you're trying to make a lifestyle change, it really helps if you have someone doing it with you. For example, you're going on a diet, it helps if someone else is on the same diet as you, or you're starting walking 5,000 steps a day, it helps if you have a walking partner, or, you know, anything that you start, it's useful if you have someone doing it with you, or kickboxing,
That
or a new
lasted
language.
literally like a one day.
Yeah, we were like, we're gonna kickbox together, and we made this whole thing about it. Even bought gym clothes, and then we didn't go.
To be fair, no, so this was at uni. We went to one kickboxing session at uni, but we felt a bit underrepresented because there wasn't many like ethnic people or any Muslim women at this establishment. And also the instructor was male, so we felt a bit like uncomfortable. And then they had one kickboxing session at a mosque that we went to, and then
that was amazing.
Yeah,
that was
really,
fun.
good.
Yeah.
But then they never did it again.
So if you're a Muslim owned or even just a female instructor, that
Get in touch for sponsorship. No, but fine. You know, not every sport is for everyone. Yeah, but essentially it helps if you have someone who's on a similar wavelength to you to help encourage you and to support you, and also be a partner in your latest ambition or latest endeavor of self-growth.
Yeah, totally. Where did the food come from?
I mean, call me Samantha.
No one knows who that is.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
How old are you? Bewitched? She just said this with her nose.
Never ever heard of that in my life. No.
I'm 23.
Is that Pinocchio?
Oh
I'm
my
not 23.
God. No, it's Samantha. She's from Bewitched. She was a witch. Whatever, guys.
Is that in the 80s?
Yes, I was watching her from Alam Arwah.
For those that don't know, that means
The realm of existence before we come into this world.
yeah. That's why it's funny.
Should we hop back into the conversation?
Yes, back to this world, this realm.
I was gonna ask, are we the problem when it comes to friendships? Because we talked a lot about conflict resolution, and if so and so does this to me, or so and so trauma dumps, for example.
Yeah.
But what if I'm the problem in the friendship and I don't know about it? Like, what are some ways of figuring it out?
How to tell that you're the problem.
Because obviously we see things from our perspective.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, journaling's a really good way to, you know, really get your thoughts out on paper. But even journaling, I feel, is very, you're writing about your own perspective.
Exactly.
So obviously things are going to seem so much worse.
It's just echo chamber again.
Sorry, that chicken was really good. Okay, what kind of situations would make you consider you're the problem? Or that there is a problem? Okay. When you're... In order for you to think, am I the problem? There needs to be a problem first.
Yeah.
So problem in a friendship, for example, you're not getting on, or your expectations are not matching, or you've fallen out.
Yeah.
Yeah, or your friendship has ended. That's the problem. So obviously, it takes two to tango. So you think, are they the problem or am I the problem? Our ego will always say they're the problem.
Yeah.
Part of us might ask, are we the problem? How do you know if you're the problem? One of the ways to know if you're the problem is, are you finding yourself in the same situation with different people all the time?
That's a good point.
Really good point.
Because if you are, then you're the common denominator, aren't you? Then there must be something about you that is contributing to the situation. If it's a one-off and you don't have that problem again with another friend, then yeah, okay, you weren't the problem. But, you know, it takes radical honesty with yourself. And journaling is a useful tool in that. Like, I am triggered by, or
Right.
the things that I feel insecure about are...
Then you can notice like a pattern.
So not like a vomit diary, more like a... You're
Yeah,
thinking
more
about.
focused. Because with the vomit diary, it's just like... Vomit. Like,
Word vomit.
yeah, you have to like filter through it to find something of use.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's more of a targeted journaling approach, for example, I feel upset when, or in a friendship, this I am upset when, or in a friendship, I don't like it if my friend does this, and it could be anything from ignores me, doesn't invite me, doesn't call me, doesn't ask me about how I was, anything, whatever it is. Then you write because that makes me feel rejected or insecure or lonely or unheard or ignored or unloved or whatever.
Yeah.
And then why? Because as a child, and
It
then
always goes back to that.
yeah, it does. It goes back to your primary attachment
Yeah.
relationship in your childhood. And because as a child, I felt unheard when, I felt unloved when, I felt, and that is how you can use journaling for amazing self-discovery. So when we think, are we the problem? We're thinking, am I the toxic person? Am I the one with a personality disorder? You don't have to be all those things to be the problem. If you are causing suffering for yourself,
Yeah.
you are the problem.
Right.
True.
And a lot of our suffering, if not most, if not all of it, comes from ourselves. Even the Quran describes that, right? The people who are doing injustice with themselves. So I think that's quite a powerful tool. Just be radically honest with yourself about how you're feeling without the judgment and trying to understand where it's coming from. Rather than, so, for example, if you had a birthday party, you didn't invite me, I got upset. I can sit there for ages going, she didn't invite me, she doesn't like me, I'm not a real friend to her, she likes other people more than me. Or I could do the 70 excuses thing. Maybe she forgot, maybe she lost her phone, maybe da-da-da. Or I could sit there and be like, okay, she didn't invite me, that has upset me because I feel rejected.
Yeah.
I feel overlooked.
Yeah.
I feel inadequate. I feel unworthy. And then you've shifted the perspective to yourself and how you feel and what it says about you. And then the wonderful thing about that is when you shift the perspective to yourself, then you gain back control.
Yeah.
Because if I blame you for how I'm feeling, or I blame you for what you've done, I've given the power away. Because you're not in my control, you're not in my control.
Yeah.
What you say, what you feel, what you think, what you do, I can't have any influence over that other than how I react
Yeah.
to those things, and also how I think, how I feel, what I do, what I say.
So to do with that, I had a question. I came across this video essay, and it was talking about how all the feelings that you have are valid. Every single feeling you have, whether it be jealousy, hatred, anger, sadness,
Messengers, yeah.
yeah. But it's your behavior that's not always valid. So for example, if I'm angry, yelling isn't valid. Do you guys agree with that, or do you think does that mean don't react then? Just keep those feelings within yourselves and not let it come out?
Yeah, I think I agree to an extent that your feelings are valid. Like if you're upset, you're upset. But it's how you react to the situation that's important. So yeah.
I think gaslighting, and so gaslighting in particular makes you feel like your reality is invalid.
Yeah.
And it's a technique of coercive control, isn't it? But I think culturally we're taught that to react at all, to show any kind of emotion, is inappropriate or disrespectful or ungrateful or whatever the thing may be. Like you said, emotions are valid and feelings are natural and emotions are energy in motion, blah blah blah. They're messengers, and you're right, it is what you do with it. But I think there's a lot of social meaning attached to certain actions.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm angry and I talk loudly, in certain cultures, Punjabi culture, Nigerian culture, a lot of Arab cultures as well, speaking loudly is part of the culture.
Yeah.
I don't have to be angry to be speaking loudly. Therefore, if I'm angry and I'm speaking loudly, it's more acceptable than it would be, for example, in English culture, where you're not meant to speak loudly. So raising your voice is considered yelling and therefore less acceptable.
Totally. Yeah.
You know? Whereas, for example, if I'm upset, in Khoja culture, I've noticed people don't cry very loudly.
Yeah.
Not even in a funeral or in a majlis or whatever the setting is. They, in that culture, they seem to express their grief quietly.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to the Pakistani equivalent, everyone's wailing at the top of their voices, and it's considered normal. Yeah. So when something makes you sad, in the kind of like Pakistani culture, for example, if you were to be crying loudly, it would be considered a normal expression of that emotion.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were to be crying loudly in a culture that it wasn't normal in, it would maybe be interpreted as inappropriate. So I think our expression of emotions, as valid as the emotions are, have to be seen in the lens of the setting.
Yes.
Really good point.
If that makes
That is
sense.
a really good point.
I think as long as you're not harming anyone else and you're not harming yourself, let me sit properly as well. Look less of an elephant.
She's gonna hold on.
She's
to
not
that.
Ella though. Call me Elmo. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank God.
Sesame Street. I didn't watch it.
What?
but Elmo's from Sesame Street, the red puppet thing.
No, isn't Elmo that elephant, the patchwork one?
Oh no, I'm thinking of what she's thinking about.
Oh, the rainbow. No, that's the rainbow fish. That's a different one. You know the rainbow fish?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow, so we didn't even. we didn't get that.
What has Elmo got to do with anything?
We're just two worlds apart. It's so funny.
Let's
talk about the generational gap.
If you would like to see that episode, please click the link below. No, I'm joking. What was I saying before I sat up straight?
You said
I lost my trail of thought.
emotions are valid, but it depends on the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. So I think as long as you're not hurting anyone else, or you're not harming anyone else, then you should be able to express that emotion.
So lastly, I think, because you were talking about the seasons and some friends are there for a while, what if you had a friend that was, a forever friend that was there for all the seasons, and then suddenly you notice a change that results in the end of a friendship? Like, how do you cope or deal with the loss of a really close friendship? A friendship that you may have had from birth, let's say. Or not even that. Just a really close friendship.
And has it ended amicably or not amicably?
This is just a situation.
Hypothetically. Yeah. So hypothetically, if it's ended amicably and with grace, then you have an understanding as to why it's ended and you can make peace with it. If it's ended abruptly or someone's ghosted you, essentially, it's quite normal to feel feelings of loss and grief, and often you have to go through the grieving process of a relationship that's ended. Especially if it's one that kind of dates back to when you were small and you've got a huge attachment to that person. It's important to grieve through it. Sometimes you can ask for guidance on who you should be friends with. Like, I think we feel the responsibility is really on our shoulders. Make good friends, find good friends, keep good friends. But we could do with Allah's help. We need Allah's help. We need God's help to, we can pray, give me good friends. If they're good for me, let me keep them. If they're not good for me, then remove them. So we can sometimes do that prayer and then wonder why a few months down the line someone's ghosting us or we're not in touch with someone anymore, and then we feel sad. But what we've forgotten is actually we asked for this. We wanted those people who are good for us to be closer, those who are not so good for us to move further away from us. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Not everybody in the world has to be our friend. There are so many people in the world, they're not all going to be our friends. Some of them are meant to be our associates, some of them are meant to be our best friends, some of them are meant to be lifelong companions. Other people are not even meant to be accomplices. They're just, it's okay. And Imam Alayhi Salam says that the souls are pre-mobilized groups. Your soul is a pre-mobilized being, and souls recognize each other. They mutually repel and mutually attract the likeness of themselves. So sometimes you can walk into a room and you instantly like someone. You just feel a connection with them. You feel like you've known them forever.
Yeah.
And other times you can meet someone and just your energies don't match. You just don't click with that person. There's no chemistry. You just don't get on, even though they're a really nice person. Because your soul recognizes the likeness of itself, and it repels the one
That
away
was
from
what
it.
I was saying at the start.
Which was?
You find a reflection of yourself in your friends now.
Oh, so maybe she's not the narcissist.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, basically. I just meant, you know how they say the believer is a mirror of another believer? That's kind of what I was going for.
Okay.
So
I like to see a
wisdom.
mirror.
Why have you come up with that like 700 hours later?
'Cause
Sorry,
it's
late
just,
comebacks are not accepted. So it's sometimes we meet people that we instantly connect with and meet people we don't. And it's okay. It's okay to not be liked by everyone.
Yeah.
It's okay to not like everyone. I think it's important that if you have lost a friendship and you're feeling sad about it, allow yourself, like we said, all emotions are valid. Allow yourself to feel sad about it, but also trust in God and His plan for you, and know that the right people, the necessary people, will be in your life at the necessary time and the right time. And everything is by God's timing, and God's timing is the best timing. There's an ayah of the Quran, which I think is a beautiful prayer in regards to this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi zidni ilma wa bihaqqi salihin. Oh Allah, grant me knowledge and put me amongst the righteous. Now, growing up, I thought that it meant, make me friends with the righteous people.
Yeah.
But as I've got older, I realized, what if that prayer is not about the people around me being righteous, but it's about make me righteous so that I am known as part of the righteous people. And you see how the whole paradigm shifts then, because it's about me and my behavior, my self-growth, my development, and who I am. And that's what I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you are well developed and well rounded and happy within yourself, and you can love yourself and be self-assured and be a good person,
Yeah.
you're going to be vibrating at a frequency that's going to attract like-minded people.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you're going to attract those kind of people who are not either. So, know your tribe, but also work on your own identification.
Yes.
So that your tribe members can identify you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, because I think for a lot of this episode, like you said, we've been talking about other people, what they can do for us, what do we look for in them, but it's like, do we even have that within ourselves?
Really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And like my sister says, there's no bunk bed in the grave.
Wow, what is with you guys and like really
Always,
good
like,
things?
one-liners.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's usually in the middle of an argument. She says it.
Yeah,
But,
that's a good one. Do you think, as friendships go on though, can people change? Can we change? Is change a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
We should hope that we can change. We should hope that there's some growth continuously. We should be continuously evolving. The thing is that when you're learning something, the neurons in your brain are changing, aren't they? They're growing, you're getting neural connections, and there's growth happening. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has said, what? Gain knowledge, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave.
Yeah.
So from the moment you're born to the moment you die, there should be change happening in your brain, in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. You should be growing.
Yeah.
So growth is essential to know that you're alive. And you would expect to grow together.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you grow apart as well. But as long as everyone's growing in the right direction, that's life.
Yeah. What about when people say you've changed?
But
That's not
that's
not
what she
in
was
that
saying,
context
though,
though.
right? Like, it can be a good thing.
But as in, I don't think they mean it in a good way.
I think when you grow as a person and there are people around you who are not willing to grow or not growing, your growth is threatening to them.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
because they fear being left behind or being outgrown.
Like feel inadequate in some way.
Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, you've changed," if like for example, when you become more religious, people are like, "Oh, you've changed," you know, it's threatening. Or if you go on to bigger and better things and they don't, then sometimes that can highlight their own insecurities and their own whatever they're struggling with internally. So I think self-awareness is important in that sense.
Yeah.
And you know yourself if you've changed for the better or for the worse. I know when I'm hungry, I change.
So
Well,
real.
Yeah, I don't change into a good person. I'm like that Snickers bar advert. Like,
You're not
It's
eating
ugly.
when you're hungry.
no, I don't know. Yeah, or
Have a
I'm-
break. Have a Kit Kat.
That's a different
That's a
chocolate.
different. Yeah.
But after I've eaten, I change back.
That's that radical honesty.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's the self-awareness, you know.
Really
And-
good point.
And sometimes the people around you, they notice. Like my kids say to me, if I'm getting angry at them, they're just like, just eat something. Like, are you hungry? Which 90% of the time is true.
Oh, it's nice to be seen in that way though. Like they
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
nice.
for that, I need to be able to face my own flaw, my own kind of, you know, to know myself. And then,
To know yourself.
yeah, من
Is
عرف
to know
نفسه
your
فقد
Lord.
عرف ربه. Hey. That is a saying of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all comes down to self-knowledge.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good way to summarize the episode. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah. We can wrap it up.
Yeah.
I think they've had enough of me now.
No, but it was so nice to have you on, and we learned so much. So thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you. I
Thank you
did
so
too.
much.
No, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot
for
of
us
fun.
too.
We should do this again.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, they have to say that right now because I'm here. We'll see if I'm invited again.
You'll find out. No, for real, we should definitely have you on again, and you guys can suggest any topics. She is a doctor, so anything medical related as well, we could totally do that.
That would be interesting.
A suggestion I had was the neuroanatomy of the nafs. I really want to hear you speak about that.
Ooh, you have to stay tuned for next Muharram. Yeah, we could go into that. That would be interesting.
That would be fun. But yeah, thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll see you again next time. Don't forget to, if you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, save this episode.
Yes, download the episode because I think that's supposed to help with engagement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.
And if you are a female kickboxing provider, please get in touch for sponsorship options.
Yeah.